Yes, London, we're back. We're back. It's the each and every Tuesday. I'm saying it like I've been here for a long time. The first week back after a few months, a break due to the coronavirus. We thank you for taking the time out to listen to us. We always appreciate you, the listening audience. Without you, it's pointless doing the show. We hope the information that we convey on the show is a general discussion usually on the show where we sharpen the mind and clarify the relevant subjects and topics of debate. If you want to take part in the show, then we love to hear from you. The number is 0753 996 8143. I'll give it again, 0753 996 8143. In the topic of debate, we've kind of summarized everything that's been taking place in the news and the media for the last couple of months or so in and around the coronavirus and in and around current affairs. And one of the things that we ended up asking after that summary is, do we belong here in the West? Is it time that we start to look back towards home? That spurred on our callers. Thank you for all the callers calling in. Last caller being Nas, querying the issue in terms of my comments around in and around Donald Trump, saying what has Trump done. We covered the issue in short around the Brexit debate and why I leant towards people voting for Brexit. And as you know, I have to be delicate and tentative because even when it's not my show, it seems like the things that I say on the radio has an impact on the radio. So, I need to tread carefully because I seem to have detractors out there that do not like what I have to say in terms of the general information. So I have to, keep my mask on because they seem to be trying to go at me and silence me, but guess what, them can't silence me. Different story, that isn't it? So yeah, but all we're doing is having a debate and a general discussion, and let's do that. I do not want to impact or have a negative effect on this radio station. We want to grow. We wanted to be able to send the information out there. It's not just about me. So I will be treading carefully with my comments and even exercising greater caution than I always thought I was always doing. I'm not a what's the word, controversial person, but it seems that controversy tends to follow no matter what I say. So I'm treading carefully, hopefully with the intention of not offending anyone. And if I do, I say it goes still. You get me? I ain't trying to. It just is what it is. Just to address the last part that we took a break from just before the news and advert break at 10, with my discussion with Nas, talking about Brexit. It does. Um, we're almost out of Europe. It doesn't mean that then all of a sudden things are going to be fertile for Africa and the Caribbean. If we want that, we now have a template to push and work for that. And so that's what I mean. Creating opportunities. You don't give a man a fish, you give him the ability to fish. So now we the opportunity to create that infrastructure can arise after the Brexit process is completed, and that's what we should be pushing for. The intellects here in the West, that we got our degrees or our masters or our PhDs, wherever you are, your college courses or your what's your vocational skills, what I'm saying, whether you're a plumber or electrician, all those things are valuable. It's not always about academics, because you can be an educated fool as well. We know that, right? I know someone who's educated might say, oh, he's calling educated people a fool. Well, if your education means that everything of your action is going to be for and towards the betterment of not self and kind, then you're an educated fool. you know if what you've learned and what you are doing as a trade and as a job doesn't empower you and self and kind, then you're an educated fool. I guess I'm going to create controversy today with that one. You get me? You fool. For anyone that wants to take that personal. So, in terms of the question in and around President Trump. Remember, I'm not here looking for handouts per se, specifically to a black person, where they come in and saying, "Oh, this policy is black and this policy is white." It's about creating the ground, the infrastructure where you as an individual can excel within that. Now, the first policy that I like with President Trump is going to be a controversial one, but that's the wall, the immigration blockade, not just the wall with Mexico, but the whole tightening of the immigration infrastructure in the United States. Now, as an immigrant myself in the UK, that sounds a bit, what's the word? Um,
Hypocritical.
a bit of a hypocrite. But however, I'm not saying, and he wasn't saying, based on what I've listened to him saying, that there shouldn't be immigration. He said there should be right immigration. And if that is the case, I came through the right channels to this country, so I'm not being a hypocrite, you know? So um, it's about knowing that you have a large demographic in the United States of people that have been disenfranchised. And if you have this large demo, and like I always say, we, the black folks, are the ones that are always most impacted negatively by any adverse or any policy, full stop. If there's any negative impact, it's always going to impact us more than everyone else, simply because of the institutionalized racism in most westernized systems, right? I didn't say all, I said most westernized systems. So when we look at America, the most the largest demographic that's disenfranchised and impacted negatively due to poverty and lack of employment and businesses and that kind of stuff, self-employment and so forth, is the black community. And as a result of the immigration blockade, you're saying you need to empower those that have been largely disenfranchised within the country. Who would that benefit? Am I correct with that one, that thinking?
I don't know if I agree with
Second?
that. I don't know if I agree with that.
Oh well, my producer doesn't agree with me, but that's how it goes. Still, she got vexed with me too. She probably gonna report me as well. So your problem that you get your problem that one day. You get me? I'm saying it as it is. When you have a large group of people, and it's not just black folks, it's a lot of folks that have been disenfranchised in a country, you cannot allow then everyone else to come in and benefit before you make those in the country that are most significantly impacted get a way of getting a leg up. It's simple mathematics. You empower those in the country first. I'm not saying he's looking at it to say he's empowering black folks, because I'm guaranteeing you that may not well be what he was doing. But as a result of those policies, it's well aware that he's said as well that it will also benefit those groups. I'm saying, so you're looking at what policies best benefit those people. And when you go to South, if you haven't been to the United States during the rule or the presidency, that's the right word, of President Trump, then you may not see what I'm talking about. But I've been to the United States. I know South Florida was booming with black businesses a couple of years ago, booming with black businesses. A lot of black millionaires being created during this presidency, a lot. And I mean, not from already rich black folks. I'm talking about black folks that are becoming millionaires due to the fertile environment that's being created due to the presidency. I'm not saying that President Obama didn't create didn't hand over the country to President Trump in a way that he would benefit from it. I have to give that to President Obama. He did create that ability for that to take place, but it was the direction of this presidency that's allowed for that to manifest, and for that I give credit to where credit is due. And that's one of the policies that I give credit to. The other policy that specifically addressed the majority of black folks, and that we know that specifically address black folks, is the prison reform policy that President Trump has done, where he's pushed to reform the prison reform policy, the prisons in the United States, because it's disproportionately black inmates. And on those prison reform policies, if you go and have a look at that, is actually pushing and fighting for a more fairer justice system for black folks, and he's freed far more black folks from prison that's been locked up. Um, what's the word? Locked up unfairly. Is that the right word I'm looking for? That's been locked up due to the prejudicial system that was in place before President Obama and during President Obama. Now imagine you have a black president that didn't even think of doing that. All he thought about was doing something for his mom. You know what I'm saying? He didn't do nothing for us, and anything else that he done it for the liberals in terms of. And I'm not saying this in a disparaging way, but he done a lot more for people based on their sexuality and sexual orientation than he did for the color of their skin, and that's a fact. You can go and look at his records. Whereas the policies that President Trump's put in place is kind of leveling off the fairness of the state system. It doesn't mean that it's fair at the moment, but it has increased the prospects from the low levels that they were already. Now, I'm not saying this man is no savior. You have to save yourself. Or if you know me, you know it's about saving yourself. But you lean towards those that are creating the environment that is best fitting. And the democratic process is not the Democratic Party and the democratic process is not doing that within America. It leans to make it seem like they're on the side of the black folks, but the policies that come into being and come into place whilst those Democrats are in power are always harmful to black folks. I mean, President Clinton had one of the best presidencies in terms of his reforms and everything that he did in the country, but then he placed the most black folks into prison. That also generated significantly to the economy why America did so well. You know, the prison system boomed under President Clinton, being locked up. But yet people don't talk about that side of it. Called 13th. If you want to know more about what I'm talking about in how the Democratic Party uses underhanded tactics to recreate modern day slavery, and you need to go have a look at that, then you can start to see it's not just really the Democratic Party, the Republicans as well, but per se how most of these policies have come under those that you would think that were liberal and more forward thinking towards black folks. And so they both, whether it's the left wing, the liberals, the Democrats, or the right wing, the Republicans, they're all the same bird. They're all the same harsh and detracting policies. But we now being in a position where we have to vote for one or the other, we go for the one that provides the best opportunity for us to break those shackles in the long run. And at the moment, we all can see what President Trump's doing, and we all see why the media is against him, because he's not playing according to, at the moment, so far. In a few months, you might say, look what he's doing now. But at the moment, I give him the credit for what all he's done so far. That I hope has answered the question, Naz, and given some specific policies. I've given 2 detailed ones to show you that I'm not just speaking in general terms. You can go and have a look at that. Have a look at how, there's so much that I could go into, but we'd probably be banned from the air again if we go into it, because that's the side of things that are far more volatile and tentative, because we know that President Trump and Dr. Fauci don't get on, and you have to wonder, why doesn't President Trump and Dr. Fauci get on? And that's another argument, that's another debate that probably won't be on air for that purpose. That is too tentative and too volatile, and we're going to get the bed warmers coming out making complaints. You know what I'm saying? Sorry. You know those people that, I mean in the sense of those people that just complain about everything, because they're warm to the system that they love. That's what I meant by that term. All right, so if you want to take part in the show, if you got any questions or any complaints, no, not complaints, I can't take the complaints. If you got any questions you want to add to the show, My question is that we're looking to discuss at the moment is, you know, are we in a position at the moment that we should be thinking about leaving and relocating from the UK? Are we so far away from things here that we can see that the society is so much against us in the key aspect? Do you feel safe in your police force representing, helping to protect and representing you as a black folk? Do you still feel prejudicial treatment towards you? I mean, during the lockdown in here in the UK, I would say I haven't been bothered by the police. They've done a good job, but I've seen incidences on social media here in the UK where they haven't done such a good job. So obviously, it's probably where you are and the interaction in that area. Um, then you also have the NHS. Do you feel safe in your health system? I heard on the news about a month ago when the Office of National Statistics, oh, I nearly didn't say it right, when the Office of National Statistics came out and mentioned about the death rate with the numbers, the proportionality of numbers amongst black folks to white folks and other nationalities, in terms of the BME groups and the impact. It was mentioned that it could be also related to institutional racism within the NHS. And that was a very deep seated statement because that would mean that the appropriate treatment wasn't given to individuals and the policies followed due to the color of their skin. Now, do you ever feel like that? Because I don't know. That's a double-edged sword because it wasn't thought about. Was it thought about beforehand before this pandemic? Would you think like that, or do you feel that the NHS is on your side? Do you admire the hard work that they've done, or do you feel that yes, there was some discrepancies along the way in terms of the treatment? I mean, if you're like me, you're avoiding the hospitals like the plague, because you just don't trust the hospitals, not because you're scared. But it doesn't mean you shouldn't go to the hospital if you're sick, because if you're sick, that's where you seek treatment with the medical processes. But has your confidence been shattered by this process? And with the numbers coming out now, has it confirmed to you, or is it just add shock value? Were you saying, "Oh wow, how did that happen?" Because you're completely oblivious to that, or were you always aware that things were a bit biased towards you within those institutions? It'll be interesting to know, and get your take on the matter. And as a result of these major institutions, the police, the health system, the social services, are you impacted negatively by the social services? Um, I know personally, if there's a vocation that I can't stand, is the social services. And not dissing a social worker, they do hard work. I just can't stand the vocation. I don't ascribe to the process, but they have a difficult job to do that they have to do within a country and a climate where that job is required. So shout out to all the good social workers out there. I just couldn't do it, me personally speaking. But it's just like certain people say they couldn't be a bin collector. But shout out to the man them that's collecting the bin, because if it wasn't for them, the waste would have caused um, a outbreak of more serious disease and infections than anything else. So certain things are essential, irrespective of whether we like them or not. So I'm not taking that away from them. It's just my personal take on the matter. But do you feel that the system in place in this country, and from what you can see now across the globe, outside of home base, these making you comfortable? There's so many black folks I'm hearing that want to leave the UK, and the reason being as well, I hear a lot of them saying that they themselves, that they feel restricted, that they can't speak about stuff, but yet a man that's into computing that can come and talk about world health procedures and policies. A school dropout that's never done a day in medical school in his life can all can set global policies and advise prime ministers and presidents about what's the best process and health aspect to life. This is unbelievable, isn't it? Or is it about his money? Is it money that's making it happen? You know what I'm saying? Because how would he have the right? I mean, if I get up and I have no medical qualification whatsoever, and I start talking about protocols and processes that should be put in place because of the medical and the health impact of the potential outbreaks, wouldn't wouldn't I be shut down straight away? It sounds to me like the hypocrisy of this society is amazing, because you have a man like Dominic Cummings that I mentioned at the start of the show that could travel, what was it, 260 miles with his family, but you couldn't travel to the park around the corner from your house. But he could drive 260 miles and not be stopped, or if he was stopped, not be arrested or charged or fined by the police force. I note I said force. But yet, you couldn't. How many were you, as a black folk, were you stopped and harassed by the police during the shutdown, the lockdown? And if so, now that you've heard that Dominic Cummings could travel 260 miles and nothing comes off it, how do you feel? Did you pay your fine? Because this is the biasness that's out there, that you have Madagascar that's claiming to have a cure through clinical observation. Let's say that clinical observation, not clinical trials. And we have to highlight that the UK and the West, they function off clinical trials. They function of doing blind testing and all these stuff in how to get about clinical trials. Yes, granted. But if you're saying that you're fighting a war on something, why would you fight down something that in clinical observations has shown promise? Shouldn't you then help to push that rapidly also into clinical trials? We're not saying that it's a cure. We don't know. We're not. I'm not a medical professional to say this is the right way and that's the wrong way. But what, in terms of whether Madagascar has got it or not? But it's quite interesting to note that Madagascar, being a poor country, cannot get a footing to say nothing, but yet pharmaceuticals, of which I can comment on, because all have some form of side effects. And you don't need a medical or a research qualification to highlight that. Why? Because when you go to the pharmacy and you buy any medication, you open the packet, it has a list of side effects in there. So there's negative impact from anything that you use that's pharmacological. So why is it that all these things can't be looked at in unison, in a balanced approach? In reality, you should have the pharmaceutical being trialed against and with in the same subgroups as the Madagascar, the Cuban approach, all in pooled trials to ensure that the best remedy is what's found through appropriate testing. And yet, these things don't take place. So, your voice, your country, your skin, unless you as an educated fool is doing something in those countries that benefits those countries but not your people, they don't listen to you. The only time you're listened to is when you're an educated fool doing something in those countries that they want to give you greatness and credibility for, like an MB and so forth. So I, I don't want to be saying something that sways your thinking. What do you think? I don't want to say much more on it. Give me a call. I've summarized it in a nutshell, much more. I don't want it to be that my way of describing it is making up your mind. I don't want that to happen. I want you to tell me, what do you think? Am I wrong in my thinking? What do you feel? How do you view things? Because like I said, I can't understand how Mr. Gates can be so influential without a medical qualification. If the world was balanced and fair, Mr. Gates should be pushing forward his research and medical expertise team that then should be speaking on his behalf as opposed to him speaking if that was the case. But that's not taking place. Everyone's listening to someone that was a school dropout that had no medical qualification. And to be able to program a basic computer from the 1980s, you don't need to be that clever. In the 1980s, it probably seemed clever, or the 70s, whenever he did it. But right now, if you're a programmer, you know how basic that was in comparison to now. So he used something basic to make a lot of money, and everyone has him as clever. But in reality, he might be as dumb as a plank because having a little basic skill to do something that's basic that you see as rocket science when it's not. But again, that's my thinking. How is our things so convoluted? Let me know your opinion. 0753 996 8143. 0753 996 8143. That's the number. I ain't saying nothing else. If no one don't call in, I guess the show will finish early because I don't want to be rambling here like I'm lecturing or trying to lecture anyone. It's a debate show, and I'd love to hear your opinion and your take on the matter. Your opinion is what matters, not mine. So 07, you see, like how Nas was regimental and stood his ground. That's fine. You get me? Just allow me to get my point across, but I'm not trying to convince you to say you're wrong. We're having dialogue, and then the listening audience can make their minds up. Let's have some good dialogue. 0753 996 8143. 0753 996 8143. So let me know what you're thinking. I'm not going to keep rambling on like Ariston. Let me know what you're thinking on the matter. It'll be very good to get your take. You said you didn't agree with something that I said
About the wall.
about
The wall.
the wall.
Mm.
Oh, what was your take on the wall? Let me give you the mic so you can
Yeah.
say your piece. Me don't.
Alright.
So you agree with the wall then?
No, I don't agree with it.
Go on, why don't you
No,
agree with the
I
wall?
don't want to go into it.
She vexed me about the wall. I don't know what I said about the wall that's offend. Did I hope I didn't offend anyone about the wall? Cause my producers here vexed with me about the wall, and I think she's got some Mexican family heritage. You get me? So you go.
But you're
You
the
get
first person to say that
Hmm.
it affects black people the most.
What the wall
Policies,
policies?
any decision. So
Oh
what
well,
makes you
well
think?
we know what the Trump presidency said about Africa and the attitude towards like certain countries like Nigeria. We're not hailing President Trump a hero or a
But
national
you just said
treasure.
you agreed with the wall.
I agree with the fact that you have to have strong immigration policies and procedures, and I I do not agree with civil rights leaders using the civil rights legislation, which is already detracted from the acres and mule that we were supposed to have from the when slavery finished and we were meant to get our acres and mule, right? I think civil rights detracted from that. When we research and we study, I think civil rights detracted from that. But yet, and so we got less when we fought for civil rights than we had before civil rights. And now what that is that now everyone's coming in that didn't go through the burden. And I say we, people, a lot might say I'm not a black American, but I don't divide myself. I don't look at the black American as different from me. I don't look at the African as different from me. Anywhere there's black people, it's a we. It's not a me, it's a we. I don't divide myself from other black folks. Their struggle and my struggle, and I would like to think that my struggle is their struggle. So in terms of that, we as a people, we went through a tumultuous period during slavery. It was very white Anglo-Saxon Protestant slavery was the worst in terms of modern day slavery. The only slavery that was probably worse than that was the when the Arabian slavery, in terms of how they did their brutal stuff. But white Anglo-Saxon Protestant slavery was very, very brutal. It was different from what the Portuguese and the Spanish did down there in South America to some degree. And when we look at that, we went through all that, then we went through the civil rights after that. And then all those policies are utilized to benefit everyone else apart from us. So the very policies that were in place to help protect us, everyone else uses it and we don't get the benefit from it. And then those parties in power, they themselves introduce institutionalized policies that are prejudiced in detail and against us. So they help to push that racist narrative against us, and that is my gripe. I don't have anything against other people because in this world there's only one race, and that's the human race. However, not everyone sees it like that, and until everything is a even playing field, we have to make sure that we are protected. As such, we lean towards policies that protects the little we have until we can push for a bigger. But yeah, that's my take. I'm a bit controversial, and not everyone's going to agree with me because a lot of people hate President Trump, and I can understand that because the media says to hate him. But I do not
And his
follow.
own actions.
Huh?
And his own actions.
What about his actions? I don't understand what actions. Wouldn't you love to tell some of those press people to shut up as well? I quite like that. I think it's refreshing when some of those people ask those stupid questions and he shuts them up. You know, that's like me. Don't ask me a stupid question in it because you just say it as it is. You're not begging no one nothing in it. You just
Yeah, but there's a
respond.
certain level of decorum that you have to have as a president.
Oh, and
And he doesn't carry that all the time.
if you can't hear what the producer is saying, she said there's a certain level of decorum that a president should have, and you cannot behave like that all the time. But I think people should be who they are. Whoever you are, you should be who you are, and when you behave like someone else, that's when you're not respected. I see the Tanzania president. You have a lot of far right groups in America, and if you have a research and look into those far right groups, a lot of them have given credit and respect beyond measures to the Tanzanian president. Why? Because the Tanzanian president is acting as who he is. He's a president of Tanzania and he's protecting his people. And his stance and his behavior is towards the protection and the betterment of his people. And that is respected. So I think, in a nutshell, people respect those that they see that are acting and behaving like themselves. We know that if we go back in history, we know that Ramesses, one of the greatest Egyptian pharaohs, when his body was brought to France back in the day in racist France as a black man that's been dead for thousands of years, they gave him a state presence, for his mummified remains. It was like a president visiting the country, and that's due to respect of people being powerful and profound to who they are. People do not respect people that try and pretend to be someone else, and people have to note that and observe and understand and to grasp what that means. You are only respected for pushing to be yourself. So if you are an African and you are from an African persuasion, and your behavior and your actions and your deeds are of a junkie, a European, or wherever that you are not, then people will not respect you. But if your behavior is of who you are, then that level of respect is always high. And that's my thinking, that people get respect for being who they are. You know, a Jamaican get respect because Jamaicans are of a certain warrior class. You get me? You see?
Stop it.
Jamaicans are. All right. Sometimes I have to put a little joke in the matter. But yeah, let me know what you think. I guess we're gonna get to wrap up early today because I've lost my listening audience or something. But the number is 0753 996 8143. I'll give it again, 0753 996 8143. One last time, 0753 996 8143. Is anyone listening? Is anyone out there? Is anyone listening? It'll be good to know if anyone's listening. If not, we're going to wrap up the show early today, because I don't like to be rambling and talking to myself. I like to know that at least what I'm saying is having, some form of positive input, or um, at least it's been heard. And I'd love to get your take and your feedback if possible. But if not, we're going to call it a day for this week. We got 15 minutes left, so we'll treat it as a preliminary show that didn't hit home with my Trump rhetoric today, but I would understand that. So 0753 996 8143. I'll give it again, 0753 996 8143. So if we don't have any callers or anyone out there listening, what I'll do, I'll wrap up the show today early. So we're back, and we will try to do the show weekly moving forward. It's the Doctor's Surgery, where we look at current affairs, looking at things that are bothering people and impacting people um, within the news over the last week. But as I said, we haven't been on here for the last couple of months, so I did my best to summarize everything of the last couple of months, but not everyone seems to be in agreement with me. Everyone seems to be upset with me today, so I'm going to call it a day.
Okay.
So, until next week, I like to say take care and give care. Let your friends and family know about the show, and I'd love to catch you guys again next week. I'm going to wrap it up now because I think I've lost all my listeners. So all the best. Take care and give care, and I'll catch you guys again soon.